The coffee cup was still warm, sitting alone on the cart, untouched, forgotten. And that was the moment she knew something was very wrong. Not because a pilot forgot his drink. Small mistakes happen on flights all the time. But because she had watched him drink it 20 minutes ago, watched him wipe his mouth, watched him walk toward the cockpit. Now the cup was back, steaming, abandoned, breaking every rule her body still remembered. She didn't panic. She didn't alert anyone. She simply turned another page of her cheap romance novel and kept pretending to be invisible. To everyone else, she was just another tired tourist on vacation. Middle seat, theme park souvenirs, worn shoes, harmless smile. Someone you wouldn't look at twice. But in exactly 40 minutes, this woman would have to remember why she was once one of the deadliest pilots ever trained, and why she walked away from the sky after the worst mistake of her life. Because somewhere ahead, 2 pilots were about to go silent. A plane full of strangers was about to start falling, and 275 lives were about to depend on the one person nobody noticed. Before the story continues, comment below and tell me where you're watching from. She sat in the middle of the cabin, seat 19B, perfectly placed to disappear. 30-something, sun-kissed nose, hair tied back in a rushed vacation bun, a backpack stuffed with souvenirs, keychains, postcards, and a cartoon plush toy hanging from the zipper. Her clothes told an easy story. Faded graphic t-shirt from a theme park gift shop, cargo shorts with a melted ice cream stain, sneakers worn soft from too much walking. The outfit of someone who stood in long lines and paid too much for bottled water. The man beside her glanced once during boarding, then looked away forever. Teacher on break, maybe a babysitter, maybe a mom who needed a few days away. Definitely not important, definitely not interesting. 2 college kids across the aisle smiled politely at the stuffed toy in her lap. That gentle look people give adults who still cling to childhood comforts. The kind of look that quietly says harmless. And that was exactly the point. She had spent years learning how to vanish in plain sight, how to lower her shoulders, soften her eyes, slow her movements, how to look like someone the world doesn't need to notice. While pretending to read, her eyes counted rows to emergency exits. Her ears tracked footsteps, tone changes, breathing patterns. She noticed which passengers looked calm, which looked nervous, which looked strong enough to help if things went bad. No one saw any of that. They only saw a vacationer flying home, tired, ordinary, forgettable, and she needed them to keep seeing her that way. What no one could see was the life she had folded away and buried under souvenirs and silence. Because before she was a tourist, before the soft clothes and quiet posture, she had been someone the sky respected. Her name used to mean something on military radios, a call sign whispered with trust and fear, a pilot known for staying when others were ordered to leave. She had flown more missions than most people would believe. Low, dangerous, unforgiving flights where the ground shot back and hesitation got people killed. She wasn't reckless, she was exact. Every move measured, every decision deliberate, because lives depended on it. Soldiers on the ground learned to listen for her engine, because when she arrived, help had come. She stayed overhead until everyone made it out, or until there was nothing left to give. But 2 years ago, everything ended. One mission, bad information, coordinates that were wrong in a way that couldn't be undone. She followed the data she was given, trusted the system, pulled the trigger. By the time the truth arrived, it was already too late. Friendly uniforms, friendly voices, lives that never came home. The investigation cleared her on paper. But paper doesn't forgive, and neither did she. She grounded herself quietly. No ceremonies, no explanations, just a decision to walk away from the cockpit forever. She counted the days since her last flight, because counting was easier than remembering. And now, sitting in a commercial airplane at cruising altitude, pretending to be no one at all, she didn't know the past was about to come looking for her. The change in the cabin was subtle, the kind most people would never notice. A shift in energy, like a room holding its breath. A flight attendant passed by with a smile that didn't belong on her face. Too tight, too practiced, eyes moving faster than they should. The kind of smile worn by someone trying to keep fear from spilling out. A minute later, 2 crew members whispered near the rear galley. Their voices low, urgent, eyes flicking toward the passengers and then away again. Not gossip, not routine, assessment. Then the seatbelt sign chimed on. No announcement, no turbulence, no reason given. just the light, and confusion rippled through the cabin. People looked around, shrugged, buckled up slowly. Someone laughed nervously and said it was probably nothing. She buckled instantly, tested the latch, released it, buckled again. The aircraft dipped, not hard, just enough to spill a drink and steal a few breaths. A strange movement, wrong in a way her body recognized immediately. Not weather, not air, hands-on controls that didn't know what they were doing. The plane leveled out again, but now the silence felt heavier. She watched a flight attendant disappear toward the cockpit and not come back. Watched another crew member grip the galley counter a little too tightly. Watched the comm unravel in small, dangerous ways. Whatever was happening, it wasn't routine. And deep inside her, something old and trained began to wake up. The second drop came without warning. Harder this time, violent enough to rip a scream from the cabin. Overhead bins burst open. Bags crashed into the aisle. A child started crying somewhere behind her. The floor seemed to fall away before slamming back into place. This wasn't turbulence. This was loss of control. The plane pitched up, then down, then twisted slightly to one side. Corrections came late and wrong, like someone fighting a steering wheel they didn't understand. People grabbed armrests. Strangers grabbed each other. Panic spread fast when gravity stops making sense. The intercom crackled to life. The voice on the other end was shaking so badly it distorted through the speakers. "This is the cabin crew. We have an emergency." A pause. A breath that sounded like fear being swallowed. "Both pilots are incapacitated." The words hit the cabin like a physical force. "Both pilots." Not one, both. Then came the sentence that froze everything. "If there is anyone on board with flight experience, anyone at all, please identify yourself immediately." 275 people. Not a single one stood up. In that silence, she understood the truth with brutal clarity. Everyone was waiting for someone else to save them. She unbuckled and stepped into the aisle. A flight attendant rushed toward her, hands raised, voice cracking, telling her to sit down. "Both pilots are out," she said quietly. Not a question, not a guess, a statement. The attendant's face drained of color. And in that moment, she knew the plane was falling. And unless she moved now, it wasn't going to stop. She didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She simply reached into her pocket and pulled out the one thing she had sworn she would never need again. An old wallet, worn soft at the edges. Inside it, a license, a photo, a pass she kept folded away. "I can fly," she said, calm and certain. "Open the cockpit door." The flight attendant hesitated, fear freezing him in place. Then the aircraft dipped again, sharp and ugly, throwing her against a seat. That decided it. His hands shook as he typed in the code. The door slid open. Inside, chaos. The captain slumped forward, motionless. The first officer leaned sideways, eyes closed, headset still on. Their radios crackled with unanswered calls from air traffic control. Altitude was bleeding away slowly, dangerously. The plane was flying itself toward the ground, minute by minute. She stepped into the captain's seat like she had never left one. Closed the door, locked it, and the noise of the cabin vanished behind steel and responsibility. Her hands found the controls, heavier than what she once flew, slower, stubborn. But the rules were the same. Lift, thrust, balance, control. She disconnected the autopilot and pulled gently, firmly. The nose came up, the descent stopped. The numbers steadied. For the first time since the nightmare began, the plane was no longer falling. She keyed the radio, her voice smooth and unshaken. "Mayday, mayday, mayday. Passenger pilot has control, both pilots incapacitated. I am military trained and require immediate assistance." There was a pause, long enough to feel like the sky itself was listening. Then a voice answered, and the fight to bring everyone home truly began. The radio came alive with overlapping voices, calm on the surface but sharp underneath. Air traffic control cleared the sky ahead of her, moving other aircraft out of the way like pieces on a board. She flew by hand, no shortcuts, no comfort systems. Every correction intentional, every movement deliberate. The aircraft felt heavy, slow to respond, demanding respect. Below her, numbers mattered again. Altitude, airspeed, heading, descent rate. This was no longer a passenger flight. It was a problem to be solved in real time. Behind the cockpit door, the crew worked the cabin with practiced calm. Reassuring voices, controlled smiles. telling passengers help was in control, even as fear rippled through every row. She felt that fear anyway. 275 lives pressing against the door. 275 people trusting someone they had never met. Minutes stretched. Every adjustment cost energy. Every mistake would multiply. She managed speed with careful throttle changes, bled altitude without letting it run away. Her muscles remembered before her mind did. The rhythm of flying under pressure. The quiet focus that leaves no room for panic. Sweat ran down her neck, her jaw locked tight. This wasn't the sky she loved, but it was still the sky. And the sky didn't care about guilt or fear, only precision. She kept the aircraft steady, kept it flying, kept everyone alive. And with every passing minute, the truth became impossible to ignore. She hadn't lost who she was. She had only been waiting for a reason to remember. As the runway coordinates came into view on the instruments, her past chose that exact moment to surface. Not gently, not quietly, but all at once. Her hand stayed on the controls, but her mind was somewhere else. Back in another cockpit, another sky, another mission that never truly ended. She heard the warning again, the shout over the radio that came too late, the realization that the target was wrong, that the people below were not enemies. Her grip tightened, knuckles widening. For a second, doubt crept in, sharp and dangerous. The same doubt that had driven her away from flying. Then a new voice broke through the radio, steady and familiar. Military calm, unmistakable. Passenger aircraft, this is escort flight. We have you in sight. A pause, then recognition. And to the pilot in command, we know who you are. Her chest tightened. They knew. We're with you. The voice continued. You're not alone up here. The words hit harder than the turbulence ever could. She adjusted her descent, slowed her approach, focused on the present, on the runway growing larger beneath the nose. The aircraft was hot and high, too fast, too heavy. Warnings blinked, margins narrowed. She deployed speed controls, bleeding energy with controlled aggression. Easy, bring it down, the escort guided. You've done harder things than this. 500 feet, 400, 300. The world narrowed to lights, lines, and numbers. Her past screamed for attention, but she pushed through it. Because this time, she wasn't pulling a trigger. She was guiding people home. The runway filled the windshield, and there was no more room for fear. The wheels hit the runway hard, a solid, unforgiving impact that sent a shock through the cabin. Screams erupted, followed by the deep roar of engines reversing. She pulled the throttles back, steady and precise. The aircraft slowed, fast, then slower, until finally, impossibly, it stopped, centered on the runway. For 3 seconds, no one moved. Then the radio crackled with voices filled with disbelief and relief. Emergency vehicles surrounded the plane in a blur of flashing lights. Fire crews, ambulances, teams ready for the worst but finding none. The cockpit door opened and medical teams rushed in. Both pilots were carried out on stretchers, alive but unresponsive. The words poisoning and investigation floated through the air, heavy and serious. Inside the cabin, the realization spread. They were alive, every single one of them. Passengers filed out slowly, shaking, crying, calling loved ones with trembling hands. And when they saw her standing there, still in tourist clothes, still holding that small stuffed toy, something changed. They stopped. They hugged her. They thanked her through tears and broken voices. A woman held her hands and refused to let go. A man whispered blessings she barely heard. A child pressed a crayon drawing into her palm. A plain and a stick figure smiling inside it. Sirens wailed outside as cameras gathered. News spread faster than the aircraft ever flew. The tourist who landed a plane. The stranger who saved them all. And just like that, the secret she had kept for years was no longer hers to hide. By the time the sun set, her name was everywhere. Screens, headlines, voices repeating the story of the tourist who took control of the sky. She sat in a quiet room away from the noise as cameras waited outside. Hands folded, shoulders finally relaxing, the weight beginning to shift. When she spoke, she didn't sound like a hero. She sounded honest. She told them why she disappeared, why she never told anyone who she was, why she stopped flying when the sky was the only place she ever felt useful. She spoke about the mistake that haunted her, about how one moment can live inside you forever, about how guilt can convince you that all the good you did no longer matters. Then she looked up and said the truth she had avoided for years. One terrible day does not erase a lifetime of doing it right. One failure does not cancel the lives you saved before it. That day in the sky, she didn't become someone new. She remembered someone she already was. Months later, she returned to aviation, not chasing medals or headlines, but teaching, guiding, standing beside young pilots when doubt crept in, making sure they understood both the weight of the job and the value of forgiveness. And sometimes, when she flies now, she looks down at the ground far below and smiles. Not because the past is gone, but because she finally learned how to carry it. Because when the moment came, when 275 lives needed someone to stand up, she did.